All right, everyone, welcome to the very first show of Culture Calls, Dialing into the Future. In our very first show, we are joined with Marco Silva. He's the AI ambassador at Microsoft, and he's also a cloud solutions architect. And he's also the podcast host.
Thank you, Sumat, for this invitation. And hi, everyone. The podcast name is Building the Future
Building the
AI
future.
Portugal podcast. It's the only AI focused podcast still in Portugal. And it's Building the Future is the brand that we have in Portugal for the annual event around technology. So it's associated to that event.
That's amazing. And Marco Silva is also an invited professor at the Lisbon School of Economics and Management. So glad to have you on our very first show, Marco. It's really an honor. So maybe could you just start off with a bit of introduction about yourself, what you do at Microsoft, and what exactly is your particular role in the job of being an AI ambassador?
Oh, sure, for sure. So I have two roles in Microsoft: the cloud solution architect and the AI ambassador. As an AI ambassador, most of my work or my responsibility is to help companies, communities, people adopt AI in a sustainable manner, let's say. So basically, things like what I'm doing here in your podcast, talking about AI and talking about how to go through the transformation that you need to go through to adopt these types of technologies. I also try to do a lot of communities and online answering, having talks, public talks at events. So this is a little bit of what the ambassador role is for different technologies. I'm the AI ambassador, so I try to do this focused on cognitive services, even in office and all the technology that we have what I normally like to call embedded AI. So things that you're using
Right.
AI, but you really you're not aware that there's AI behind it, and you don't need to be. And I do a lot of things around developers and the developer community to try to empower them also to embed those technologies, that AI, into the way that they build their applications. So this is basically a little bit of what the ambassador role is. And as a cloud solution architect, what I do is I help customers in the digital transformation to adopt cloud. So I've
Right.
been a developer for a long time. I've been doing mostly in telco industry. Here in Portugal, we had a company called Portugal Telecom. Now Altice Portugal was bought by Altice, but the company still exists and has the product called Meo. Basically, their IPTV, the first IPTV in Portugal, was built by that company. I was part of the Microsoft team that built that product, brought the IPTV and built the OTT platform on top
Oh, wow,
of
that's
that
amazing.
product in 2008. So I was developing on media for a long time, and this was mostly my area of expertise. Silverlight, that it's now a dead product from Microsoft, was doing those types of development back at 2008, 2009, 2010. And I grew from the developer role to the lead developer, and then solution architect, enterprise architect, digital advisor. And now I moved away from the consultancy part, and now I'm part of an area in Microsoft called customer success unit. And the customer success unit has the CSA team, the cloud solution architects team, that now I'm part of. And very happy too, because now I'm only focused on cloud and architecting solutions for cloud, modern applications for cloud, like Kubernetes, and also having those type of discussions with customers, how to split their monolithic applications into a microservices architecture, how to develop in the cloud in a sustainable way in terms of the total cost of acquisition. So basically the TCO for their on-prem versus cloud, and help them build an architecture that's sustainable on the cloud, that sustains their business, maybe saves them money, but becomes more agile, becomes more adapted to the ever-changing market that we are in now. So that's most of the work of the CSA, and as a top team that I'm very happy to be part of. So it's been a very cool journey.
That is totally amazing. And I happened to also listen to your podcast. The podcast was really good, especially I mean I don't understand Portuguese, but the English episodes that I could hear
Thank you.
were really, really good. And
Thank
I
you.
highly suggest everyone who's listening to this one, please go out and check out Building the Future podcast. It's on Anchor as well. So I think we can just divulge a bit into the topic of artificial intelligence, right? So you've been working with artificial intelligence for a long time. You understand how cloud computing works and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So what do you think? So we're already seeing a lot of implications of what artificial intelligence is being done to the world right now, especially now with the pandemic and all. So
Mhm.
a lot of companies are now into digital transformation. So they want to have a digital presence. And what do you think is the role that artificial intelligence plays in such an environment?
Okay. So there's two dimensions to that question. This is very, very good. The first one is, and I like to relate to the industrial revolution,
Right.
because before the industrial revolution, we had products being built in the traditional manual way, and then came the industrial revolution. And that doesn't mean that you don't keep building things by hand. Say you want a Ferrari, you pay a premium and you get a Ferrari.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that the Ferrari will be built entirely by hand. If you see the advertisement, it says the Ferrari is all built by hand. This is why it takes so long and it provides a premium product. But they don't screw the screws by hand. It's they have machines to do that didn't exist before, and there's some level of revolution that happened in the industrial revolution for the different business. They needed to learn how to adapt that into the business and the product that they want to build. But they were all touched by industrial revolution. Even the ones that exist today have gone through the industrial revolution. If they didn't, they disappeared in between the
Right.
pre-industrial revolution, the post-industrial revolution. For businesses today, the fifth revolution, the digital transformation part, one of the bits that they need to learn how to adapt, how to adopt into their own product, work life for their employees, how to adopt that into the company is AI. So AI is as important today to be a business in the future as it would be if you think about the industrial revolution at that time, and you were deciding if you want to go into that thing that those industries are talking about, and having machinery in your and invest in changing the way you build your products. This was today is as important as it was there. So if there, for me, the normal I say this to my customers is there's only two types of companies today: the ones that are still trying to figure out how to adopt AI into the work that they do, and the ones that already have done this and now are trying to maximize their investments. But there's only two types of companies. The third type is the one that will disappear because uh, AI isn't something that maybe is going to work. It's already working. It's already
That's
proven
true.
proven technology. So you need to figure out. There's parts of AI that are like anything in life, right? There's parts that are still being developed. There's a lot of new things still in the field to be done. But at the beginning, for a couple of years ago, I would separate machine learning from AI. Today, I still don't believe that they are the same thing. But in the public, when public speaking or when talking with customers, I try to mesh the two together. It's all AI
Yeah, right.
because it's easier, but it's not. But in my opinion, because AI, it's the things that are really more ahead than machine learning. But for instance, machine learning is completely proven as something that works. But there's, I think, too much of a promise for companies that are trying to adopt this. And the high impact that this can have is there's a lot of manual processes that you already have data on that could not be done by your team. You can save money on that. You can really help your customers. Things like understand predictive maintenance. Things like understanding that something will fail in your factory. If you're in an industrial line of work in the industry, or if you're doing customer services, so like understanding that your internet router is going to fail in your customer, and try to adapt your service and basically reboot that, or get something that would not impact the end service for your customer, and that will give you a customer satisfaction rating that would go through the roof, and it would be impossible to be one-on-one with every customer, right? So those types of things change the landscape. There's basically, you wouldn't be able to do if you wouldn't go through this revolution. And I think there's a lot of these cases out there that companies can leverage AI. And I'm very happy to be the one that sometimes points out these type of things for customers, and like, oh, okay, I can save money on this. Oh, I never thought that I could bring my customer satisfaction up so high just by implementing this new tool into my process. And this is good for developers as well. Just recently, we launched something that still a little bit early, but I'm so excited to see it's in GitHub. We generate code using AI. So basically, you explain what your program, what the program that you want to build is, and you will start coding a little bit, like the description of the function. It will just try to understand your natural language and build a bit of code for you, and explain that there as code, and you can. It's not, doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect, but at least it generates the skeleton that you want to build, and you just adapt it a little bit.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
agree with
completely
that.
different way for programming, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree to that. And also, I totally agree to the part where you said about machine learning and how the implications that it already has on AI. I think there's one more point that we can truly add is that coming with AI also comes big data. So, uh, the power that AI can actually do is that it can analyze data that probably a human can't, right? So I think bringing in artificial intelligence and machine learning really cancels out the factor of human error as well. So I think that's also a perfect point which you actually told about how machine learning is actually, maybe it's not something it's picking up right now, but truly down the line that is something that will help out a lot. So, yeah, I mean, I totally agree to that. I also wanted to speak to you about what do you think is the future of AI? I mean, we already spoke about the implications that it's having right now, right? So, we spoke about how machine learning is happening, how AI is being picked up due to digital transformation and stuff like that. So, when we see this about 10 years down the line, maybe in 2030, maybe 2040, we already see artificial intelligence picking up a great role now. But what do you think is the role that it will play 10 years from now, from 20 years from now? Do you think it will play a much bigger role than it's already doing now? Or what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I loved your point around machine learning. Just wanted to add one thing that popped out in my head when you were saying it's more than just the preventing human error. It's also a way for us as humans to think about the decisions that we do. Because when we're
Yeah, I know.
doing something in an automated way, or using machine learning to automate that, you question the output more than you would if you would put someone and you delegate that responsibility to a couple of humans that would do decisions differently individually, because we're all different. But when
Right.
you're doing this in AI, it gets the conversation around what's right and what's wrong, what should be done. Is this allowed for a machine to do this decision? Is this ethical? And it brings up a lot of ethical responsibility and other discussions to the table that exists, but we don't discuss it because we're trusting the the ethicness from the human behavior, and because there's a human factor in. Um, uh, and this is also something that I'm very much interested in seeing more, and what comes out of this, all of these discussions inside the revolution that needs to happen in business. To the point that you're saying in the future, I think we're still growing, and I think it's a funny part of the curve. So it's an exponential curve in terms of adoption, in my opinion. So we're not on the flat part of the exponential, starting to go through the flat to the well, the truly exponential part
Right.
that you're going to see more and more every in your everyday lives. AI is the truth is we've been using machine learning for a fair decade, more than a decade. For instance, in email, we totally trust our spam filter. Okay, most of us don't even go to the spam folder. We know that in terms of classification, there's a lot of things. There's a very low failure rate in some types of technology that we trust, but don't call it AI. We don't call our spam filter AI. We don't call things like the automatic transcription that you get in meetings AI. Maybe those we call it some type of AI, but we don't see it as AI. We see it as part of the app. So I think the future of AI is becoming more and more embedded in our lives. Our mobile phone has huge amount of AI in everything that it does. We have personal assistants. For instance, I drive my car and I stopped using any manual commands for anything. I don't dial anyone I want to call them. I just push the button and say call my mother or call my brother or
Speed
whatever,
dialing.
and it just understands that. Even these layers of abstraction, that is, I can say something like call my mother, and I have my contact for my mother classified as mother. That means he understands that concept. It's not called her name. It's not called this abstract concept of a mother or a brother or a wife or something like that. You can classify your context like this, and and this already exists because social media already has these types of connections. So what I see in the future is all of these things getting more embedded and more interconnected. So as you connect your social media with other aspects, and you get more data about your, let's say, your multiverse of metadata, and all that metadata will be fuel for the future of AI. And I can imagine things like you sitting in your car and you get notifications of okay, you need to have this meeting in say 20 minutes, but you won't get home or you won't get to the meeting in 20 minutes. So I'm setting up a virtual meeting so that you can connect, and I'll connect you 10 minutes beforehand. I'll do everything for you, because these types of things, no one wants to do them. You don't want to. You want to live your life and have technology solve the things that you don't want to bother your mind with. I don't want to be bothered that traffic is a mess and I'm going to be late for the meeting. I don't want to be late to the meeting. I want someone to solve me this. So these
Right.
type of problems will disappear in the future. I think in 20 years from now, we won't be even thinking about this. Like we don't think about a lot of things today that 20 years ago was part of our day-by-day concerns. So I think the change there is going to be more integrated, more inside your life, and just solving the problems without you even noticing and even thinking about them anymore. So it's going to be, I think
Right,
it's going
right.
to be really cool.
I mean, I truly want to be cool. But I mean, I think I'm taking a full pivot right now. I just want to speak something more on the lines of the implications that artificial intelligence is already having, right?
Okay.
So I think it's more, I mean, I would like to speak more on the kind of implication that it's having on organizational culture,
Hmm.
right? So I mean, as you know, I'm working here at Culturelytics as a podcast host.
Hmm.
So Culturelytics, basically what we do is we assess culture using the power of AI. So we use data science, we use a lot of
Hmm.
behavioral sciences, and we assess culture that most probably culture is having a financial impact on the organization itself,
Hmm.
right? And being in AI for understanding in Culturelytics and what AI has actually been doing for many products in the world, uh, I'd like to speak about what do you think are the other implications that people are missing out right now on
Hmm.
artificial intelligence? What sectors do you think can actually use artificial intelligence to leverage whatever is happening right now?
So in terms of culture, for sure, basically, and I think again, machine learning is mature enough for a deep understanding of what's happening inside your company. Are your employees happy? What's the happening index? So there's a lot of KPIs that wouldn't be possible to measure that today are, because you collect a lot of data. Today, in the pandemic world where we're all remote, even more data. But there was already data before, if you
Right.
really wanted to. But today, even more, you really understand work-life balance, really understand commitment and other areas that you need to go through a form and have a questionnaire, annual questionnaire, to understand what's your productivity index and stuff like that in terms of happiness and other metrics. But today AI can help you, can really help. You can help process things like all of your emails in an anonymous way, in a safe way for the employee, because when questioned, people wouldn't want their emails to be processed by their manager, because they would feel that that's a violation of their privacy. But if you build technology that is private, that is safe, that means you could process everybody's email, and you could get a notification for your manager saying things like, you need to work on this and that. But it doesn't need to say, oh, you need to talk with Marco because he's unhappy, he's going to leave for another company. It says you may need to work on things like the way that you communicate with your team, because there's some insatisfaction on the clarity that you're having in terms of mission, and this could impact the someone leaving. But you don't know who, you don't know anything, and you can build this type of things that would change the way the culture is done in companies. And I do believe that, especially in technology companies that get a lot of people coming in, there's a lot of change, there's a lot of opportunities in the market, especially in the global world. They will be probably the first to adopt this type of technology. I see HR departments in the future being a completely data driven, AI powered department inside any of the companies, especially in tech companies, because I think that it's going to be easier for them to adopt. But I see this going through every industry, and I believe that AI, in this sense, is giving back to the world a lot of value and a lot of more quality to the workforce, I think.
Right, right. That's a great point. And also, I think the point where how organizational culture is primarily influenced by leadership, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that we've already seen. And considering even big companies like Microsoft and
Mm-hmm.
all the big Fortune 500 companies that do use and leverage a lot on culture, I think it's also primarily influenced by leadership a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
I think AI in the hands of good leaders will also make them understand what exactly they're imparting to their inner circle as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
do you already see the implications of this right now? I mean, you did speak right now about how it's already happening, but
Mm-hmm.
do you think even right now, as you work in Microsoft, do you think there's already implications of what's happening? How leaders are using AI to leverage on their circles that they control, and do you think they're able to get data-driven insights on whatever is happening with that?
For sure, for sure. Microsoft, in particular, we have been working on AI for a long time, and we even have internal ethics boards and to how to we should or shouldn't be using AI in our products. We consume everything that we produce. This is the type of company that I love to work, especially because of for many reasons, but Microsoft in particular. We are our own customers for our own products. We use our own cloud, we use our own office,
Right.
we have our Teams meetings, and we work remotely for a long time using our own products. So. Etc. Etc. This would be we program using our own products, we test using our own products. So this type of implication. So how we are giving out to the public the things that we call products. We also are our own. We eat our own dog food. It's we produce this, but we need to think how we're building it and leverage it. So It's a type of leadership example, in my opinion, that's not every company does, but if we do, if you do, it's very strong. It's lead by example. So
Exactly.
we go to customers when we tell our own story and say, okay, we should maybe you should be doing this. We already did it. This is how we did it, and this is the gains that we got out of it. So this comes from top down. It's leaders that think like this. That was okay. I'm not going to sell something to a customer that I'm not building. I'm not comfortable to use. So we need to do this before, and then go out to the world and sell this and convince others to be like us, to go through this path, because we already did it and it's safe. Especially in terms of AI, I think it's even stronger. So there's a lot of fear for many companies, and sometimes some hypocrisy, I must say, but because we're using AI, but we'd say that's not safe. But we have some of the people that are talking about AI have companies that are focused on AI, but they're very fearful of the impact that it has. I'm not afraid. I do believe that leaders shouldn't be afraid to use AI. They should be conscious, because like anything can be misused, and we don't talk about other. A car can be misused as something that could spread terror, even if you want. It could be a weapon, but we're not talking about weaponizing cars. In terms of AI, the reach is far greater than one car. I agree, but we only need to be conscious of how we use it, and leaders should take the most out of it, because this tool can change the way that companies work, the way that their employees see work, and it can be safe if they're conscious about this and lead by example, use it on themselves, the full company. Yeah, for sure, it's going to be revolutionary for their company. Yeah.
Truly. And yeah, I mean, I do agree on the diverse views that a lot of people are having right now on artificial intelligence. Exactly as you told, some people are like, this is not going to change the world, this is going to destroy the world. But then there's also the group of people who believe that this is going to revolutionize the world. So I just want to ask you, so now we know that there is a lot of careers that are going to spring out primarily because of artificial intelligence, and we're already seeing this. So there's so many roles primarily for artificial intelligence, for machine learning, for big data. So what do you think, if say for someone, a 20-year-old or a 21-year-old who wants to pursue and data, what do you think that they should keep in mind of the implications of these, and what do you think is the approach that they should probably have?
Okay. So I do believe that's going to be grow, and I think it's very much still an engineering type of field, I think, or a little bit of computer science and a little bit of engineering. I think it's a little bit of both. Data engineers are very common now. We've been doing reporting for a long time. They've been evolving. Some of them are bridging to the data science type
Right.
of role. So I think that's, I would say, the natural flow. If you would, if you're a data engineer today, or if you're a computer engineer, or a computer scientist, you could fairly easily do the jump to data science and AI engineering. And I do believe that these are the two roles that exist today. Either you're an AI engineer, you're building AI as a tool, or you're a data science and you're exploring data using machine learning, using AI to predict and to build models that are have a purpose in terms of either you're trying to predict the failure of something, but those are the two main roles. I think in the future you're going to see a lot more of AI engineers becoming maybe something else. I don't know the term that you're going to. We're all very creative in terms of job
Yeah.
descriptions and stuff like that in the future. So I'm not going to predict who's going to be the term, but we're building new tools that are more automated and are more low code type, in terms of what AI can do. For instance, in Microsoft, we're building AI as an API for many things. You want to do computer science, you want to do computer vision, sorry, you want to do automatic transcription. There's an API for that, and we're building those models in such a way that it's generic, and you could use it inside your product, and it's like another microservice that you would have, like any other thing. You have billing, you have auditing, you have logging, and you have transcription there. So in those sense, it's very strong, and it's very easy for engineers in the future to have a role in that. And if you would come into the world today, I would probably say, if it's exactly today, go into engineering or go into that computer science, and then you would jump into this world fairly easy. It's a very low jump. If you're in another area, say you're in management, or you're in or you're, even if you're in different areas, like you're in biology, or something that's not tech, non-tech, if you're in medicine, you'll probably want to jump into a postgraduate that would give you a little bit of this background in engineering or in data science, and then jump into this world. Because I do believe that one of the big revolutions that need to happen in the next 5 years or 10 years is all of those other areas that are non-engineering, non-computer science, but have all the business knowledge of the world that they want, like say biology. But AI will have a huge impact in biology, a huge impact in medicine, a huge impact in management, in psychology, in whatever area. It will have an impact on that. But it's going to take a little bit more time, because those experts are still not tech savvy, and the guys that are tech savvy are not industry savvy to the point that they can build the models that they need to revolutionize that area. So I do believe that it's going to be the other way around. Those guys will have the skills, the technical skills to leverage that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's amazing. So, I mean, I'm already getting an indication right now that we're running a bit late on time. So, I mean, if there's one thing that you truly want our listeners to go away and learn more about from this podcast, what do you think is the one thing that you would give away in this?
Hopefully I get them a little bit excited about what's coming next, what their impact, because probably your listeners will not be tech savvy in AI, and are thinking, okay, maybe this is not for me. Hopefully by the end of this episode, they will feel that, okay, maybe I can do this, because you can, because
Right.
there's different layers. There's not only the building robots type and
Right.
androids type AI. There's a lot of gray area in between, and they have a place in this definition today. They are empowered, and almost like a call to arms to everybody that has expertise in their business, to try to figure out how AI could help and change that business. Because if they do, what we're talking today in here in 10 years will happen in 2, probably, if everybody would pitch in and have their insights, their knowledge, to help AI and all the tech people to really put AI to work on their business. I think hopefully they're not so afraid.
That's amazing. Marco Silva, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, Marco. Everybody, please go out and check out the podcast, Building the Future. It's there on Spotify and Anchor and every possible website that you can find. Thank you so much, and we will join you again sometime later.